Today, I'm gonna be showing you how I went from this to this in less than a week, and it cost me less than $10. Quick disclaimer, I am in no way recommending you do this. I am just sharing my experience for educational purposes. If you do decide to do this, that's on you. Don't come at me if your teeth fall out. Anyway, so my entire life, I've had this little gap in between my two front teeth, but I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars on braces or Invisalign just for this little gap. So one day I just decided to do a little bit of research and see if there were any other options. And that's when I found out about these little guys. Basically, they're just tiny little clear rubber bands that you wrap around your teeth. So I bought a pack of 300 for about $7 and I began my treatment. But you have to keep in mind that the gap still has to go somewhere. You're not getting rid of it, you're just moving it. So if I brought my two front teeth together, the gap would move to the outside of those teeth, which would still be very visible from the front. So I decided to bring the four front teeth together, which moved the gap in front of my canines, which you can see here, but you can't notice it from the front, and it looks way better than the original gap at the front. So instead of just putting a band around my two front teeth, I actually put one here and one here. Basically, the main big risk of this is that the bands ride up into your gums and get stuck, so then you can't take them out, and eventually they're just wrapped around your roots until your teeth just fall out, which sounds fucking terrifying. So obviously I was really mindful of that when I first started. So the first day, I only had them in for a couple of hours in the morning and then a couple of hours in the afternoon, so I could just keep track of where they were. I didn't want to leave them in for too long. Day two, I had them in all day. It was quite painful, but that's to be expected when you're literally moving the position of your teeth. So I ended up just leaving them in unless I was eating. Also, eating was extremely painful. Any force on my front teeth, oh! I did end up sleeping with them on this night because I had gone the entire day wearing them with no problems, so I felt comfortable enough that they would be fine. Day three, I could already see the gap closing, which was very surprising for me because I was under the impression it was going to take 30 days to close. Day four, I went the entire day wearing them again until 6 p.m. I took them out to eat dinner and forgot to put them back in until 10 p.m. And in that 4-hour time period, the gap completely opened up again. Day five is when this photo was taken. You can see they are practically closed, but there is a tiny gap still. Day six is when I recorded, my gap was completely closed, but for some reason I stopped taking photos after day five. Also, by the time the gap had closed completely, there was practically no pain anymore, but the gap would still open completely if I left the bands off for more than 3 hours. So now, almost 2 months later, my teeth are completely closed, but I do still have to use the bands to hold my teeth in position. Otherwise, they will just drift back apart after a day or two. What I do now is actually stretch the bands before I put them in so they're looser, so they're not actually pulling in anymore. They're just kind of holding them, if that makes sense. So I went to the dentist once my gap had completely closed because I just wanted him to check to make sure I didn't actually fuck up my teeth. And when I told him how I closed my gap, he low-key started like freaking out. Basically, the way these bands move your teeth is they're not moving them together, they're actually just angling them so the roots stay in the same position. They just get angled. So he did a quick x-ray of my teeth to make sure the roots weren't angled, but luckily I was all good. But basically, if you have a bigger gap than mine, you should not do this because your teeth will angle. Mine didn't have to go very far, so it didn't make too much difference. But other than that, they are just really bad for your gums because they're constantly just rubbing against them. So I decided to get a retainer, which will hold my teeth in place, and it will just be a lot healthier and safer for my teeth than continuing to use the bands. Obviously, the retainer is going to be a little bit more expensive, but compared to Invisalign, $200 or $4,000, it's still the cheapest option. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop a comment or DM me on Instagram. I also may make an update video once I have the retainer, so if that's something you would like to see, make sure to subscribe. But yeah, other than that, thank you for watching and don't try this at home.